rankings and pre-draft hype show. Matt English is in the building here. Matty, glad to have you back in the birdhouse. How we doing today? Excited for the draft?
Oh man, it's like our little Super Bowl here in Dynasty Land before the before all of our rookie drafts kick off. These are the final two pieces of the missing equation for our evaluations as we head into rookie draft. So, looking forward to learning some landing spots where the draft capital is assessed. So, this is I'm fired up, dude.
Yes, draft capital and landing spots, super important for the final piece to the rookie running back rankings. But for now, we do have our we've got our top 5 running backs, I could say. And for me personally, it would take a lot of falling for some of those 5 backs for them to drop out of the top 5, I guess. And the top 5 we've got, you can put them whatever order you want. Genty's on top, but after that, Marion Hampton is pretty much consensus 2. And then we have the 2 Ohio State backs and Caleb Johnson. And you can rank those 3 however you want. But for you, Matt, is there any other back after Caleb Johnson there that you could see jump over one of those 5, if any? Let's say as long as those top 5 backs stay in day 2, right? None of them fall to the 4th round.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really don't know. I think I don't even know what scenario would put some of the others ahead. I mean, maybe you could see, because there's
Scadaboo or
kind of forgotten about since the bad combine showing. So I mean, I guess I could see someone like a Scadaboo or someone falling in love with a Giddens or a Tootin, something like that. But I mean, really, I don't see it happening, but I could see Caleb Johnson falling behind one of the 3 that I just mentioned. But I think there's been so much pushed forward with those. Well, the first 4 that you mentioned there, I don't see it really leapfrogging them, because I mean we've talked about this before. We like a lot of these players in the draft, but they all have a big but this, but that. So
yes,
I mean, you could start naming them all real quickly on some of these guys, right? But are those things enough to sway you one direction or another? I don't know.
Right. I've seen a few, there's been 100 mock drafts out there, right? I've seen a couple with Caleb Johnson sliding to the 4th, but both of them had him going to Dallas then in the 4th round. So it's like, yeah, he falls to the 4th, but it's an awesome landing spot as far as what he could be expected to get touches wise. And so for me, yeah, it would have to be like that happening and him going to somewhere like San Francisco. I saw one mock where he went to the Niners in the 3rd round, right? Mm-hmm. And there, of course, you have Target Hog City with Christian McCaffrey. Now, it's an exciting landing spot, no doubt, because if McCaffrey were to go down, well, geez, who doesn't want a Niners running back, right? But it would take that and a combination of, for me, I'm looking at Dylan Sampson, Scadaboo, Tootin, Giddens is another. Any of those 4 who've had some hype already at some point this draft season, right? We've had Tootin with the big combine and the good 40 time, Scadaboo with just the awesome highlights and the missed forced tackles and him just being, well, fun to watch, right? Who doesn't want to root for the guy? Then Giddens, awesome combine. Dylan Sampson, big numbers, SEC Offensive Player of the Year. I mean, there's very polarizing on Sampson, right? But But any of those guys gets taken in the second round, I mean, to the right spot, like let's say, the Raiders don't take Genty in round 1 and then they maybe pass in round 2, but then they take Dylan Sampson in round 3, right? Or Scadaboo goes to the Chargers. Like, who doesn't see that as a fun fit, right? So, I mean, even with Najee Harris there, we know Najee's deal, his contract was just 1 year. So their Chargers are in play for drafting a running back, right? I mean, what are your thoughts on some of the fun landing spots you see that could bump guys up more, and help us differentiate? What is, like, give me 2 or 3 of your favorite spots.
Yeah, so you mentioned a couple there. So one that I actually like, if they make trades during the draft, would be Jacksonville. But again, they've got 2 running backs that played significant snaps last year, so one of them would have to be moved for it to be super attractive, right? And then...
I'm just showing off to a hopeful sponsor there, Nas. along with my Home Run Inn pizza here. That's Home Run Inn, Chicago pizza. Yes. All right, go ahead.
It's my favorite oven pizza, I'll tell you that.
Speaking of Chicago, you like the Bears? I'm not trying to make you lose your train of thought, but you like the Bears?
I do like the Bears because I don't think Swift is an answer. I think he's a complementary piece at best. So I think if Chicago does get in there and give decent draft capital to a running back, you'll see pretty much instant committee, if I had to guess. I think Houston's an exciting site because Joe Mixon, not much left, right? Contractually, he's tradable, and he's gotten older. And he slowed down as the season went on as well. So Buffalo's interesting to me. I know James Cook is coming into the last year of his deal. So, right? Last year of his deal? I think so.
James
anyway.
Cook, yeah. So he's been looking for a contract extension, and he's playing off the, what did he have? 19 touchdowns last year, all told, with the postseason. And Buffalo's just like, come on. Ray Davis can get 19 touchdowns for us this year if we wanted to. So, I think James Cook and you were able to get off of James Cook yesterday in one of our leagues. I like that deal that you pulled off. We'll get into that in one of our upcoming trade shows. But basically it was a nice flop. JT for James Cook. I like that. Now, Indianapolis there, that's kind of a trap spot. I can easily see them grabbing a running back in the first 3 rounds. I've seen Caleb Johnson mocked there, DJ Giddens mocked there. So that's a spot that we're all, I think, scared of, right? I mentioned San Francisco as a spot you'd be kind of excited. I mean, I'd be more excited about San Francisco than Indianapolis, right?
For sure. There's you've got a running back in front of you that has been injured like half his career, versus JT, who had a holdout, a couple of bang up games, but and then you just look at the
JT's been banged up a lot the last few years too. Don't think it's not like JT.
I get that. It's not I just don't consider it the level of injury that McCaffrey's have been. That said, San Francisco's in a more attractive offense, stability at quarterback, already has established playmakers in the pass game. A better head coach. I think San Francisco's way more attractive than Indianapolis. Not that they don't have fantasy relevant pieces. There's just a whole lot less stability there. And especially when it comes to running back, I have to have that stability to fire off decent draft capital for them.
Yeah, so my 3 favorite spots would be Denver, the Raiders, and I guess I gotta say the Cowboys, right? Those would be 3 of my. Maybe I'm missing one.
The only reason
Okay,
the Cowboys is a little bit murky for me is because of what was brought in the offseason. Not that I don't think a top 5 running back in this class can't beat out what they brought in. It just makes it a little bit more murky. That's all. I'm not saying it's not
Fair
attractive.
enough.
It's just murky.
Yeah, but I mean, the Raiders brought in Raheem Mostert, and they still have
Come on, dude.
Sincere McCormick.
Come on. That's not murky. That's not
Okay,
murky.
well,
Mr. Now.
Denver still has Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin.
Easily replaced.
Yes, and I mean, I know Javonte Williams was a higher draft pick than all those other goofballs we just named, but Javonte, I mean, let's be real here, right? Like he's a backup running back. That's what he is. Now, can he fill the role for a week or two if whoever the Cowboys end up picking here? Yeah. But again, it's the Cowboys, so Jerry Jones, as I've said it before, I'll say it again, Jerry Jones has made it abundantly clear he does not value the position, whereas the Niners, the Dolphins, the Ravens, those teams value the running back position. So you could have all 3 of those teams who have 1 or 2 running backs better than anybody in Dallas right now, and they still could be taking Ollie Gordon ahead of them.
Yeah.
and then the Cowboys end up with Devin Neal as their top back in round 5.
That's not bad. Devin Neal is an NFL capable running back. He's not going to hit a ton of home runs.
I love me some Devin Neal.
But I like Devin Neal, just like Martinez out of Miami. I like him too. I think they're NFL backs that if given a shot, regardless of capital, they'll produce.
Yeah. So I've got, after the big 5, my next tier, I'll bring it up just real quick. I don't want to hold the screen hostage here. But here we've got, okay, so I'm in my tier 4 here. So this is a big chunk of this, what'll be our second round in our rookie drafts. And so after my boy Milroe up top there, then I've got 4 wide receivers and Trey Harris, Golden, Noel, and Aya Manor. And then 5 running backs in a row here that are super important to me. We've already mentioned a couple, but they're Dylan Sampson, Tootin, Neal, Scadaboo, and Damian Martinez there. So of those backs, who's your 2 favorite, Matt?
I'll say Dylan Sampson. I've seen good running backs come out of Tennessee. He looks electric. The only question I have is full workload. And then, man, I can't. Scadaboo's so attractive, right? When you watch tape and what he can do. He's a little bit older. I don't know. That's tough. I guess I would go out and say Scadaboo just on eyes. I mean, I'm not great at evaluating the running back position. I'll be completely honest. That said,
I get it. It's hard.
From what I see, from there, Sampson and Scadaboo is who I like the best of those 4.
Yeah, I think for me, again, yes, like you just said, running back, one of the toughest positions to evaluate. Now, but what we can see are missed tackles force, right? Like we were able to see when Marshawn Lynch was in beast mode and plowing people over, when Mike Allstott was plowing people over, Jerome Bettis was just a beast, right? We're able to see that Derrick Henry is just a freaking robot out there, right?
He's unreal. Yeah.
Now, that's where the 2 most important guys here to me are Scadaboo and Tootin, because they have that electricity that could ignite people's excitement, right? Their level to, I wanna go trade for that guy. Devin Neal, again, and I've said it many times, he reminds me of David Montgomery. When has
ready to say Montgomery?
when has David Montgomery ever been like on the tip of people's tongues, like somebody that they really want to go out and acquire? Even after he had a top 5 season one year in Chicago, nobody wanted him the next year because everybody was like, "Oh, fade him." He's never
attractive. His yards per carry aren't good. Yeah. I was going to yell out Montgomery because it's just not an attractive piece, but it's a productive piece.
Exactly. So that's where I see Devin Neal as somebody that he'll get an average landing spot, and I might be able to grab him like at the beginning of the 3rd round in some leagues. That's all. And maybe the back end of the 2nd. We'll see where he goes. But I've seen such a wide range for Devin Neal, like of his mock spots from the back end of round 3 to round 7. So I have no idea to grasp really where he goes. Like I've seen him land in Carolina, and that just is like yuck.
That's got to be one of the worst, in my opinion, landing spots.
So, so back to your favorite landing spots again. Let's see. We obviously have the 3 that I said that don't have even a number 1 right now, right? In the Raiders, the Broncos, the Cowboys. But then there's some other ones that are sneaky exciting. You mentioned Houston, right? A good offense with an old guy at the top right now. Mixon's got a good contract. I don't know that they could trade him actually, Mixon, but he's got a team-friendly contract. The Bears, right? Mm-hmm. Ben Johnson, the last time he had DeAndre Swift, he traded him.
That's true.
So I mean, what do you got there? And what, Roschon Johnson? Those guys aren't scaring anybody. So, yeah, the Bears are one team that's been obviously rumored, and there's tons of rumors about Ashton Jeanty out there. And the craziest one to me now is with Jacksonville grabbing him at 5 when they've got Bigsby and ETN sitting there. But it is a new regime, and Jeanty definitely fits the mold of a Bucky Irving more so than either of those 2 guys in Tank and ETN. What do you think of those? What do you think of Jacksonville as a spot for Jeanty?
If they trade ETN, I think it's great. I think Tank Bigsby is the better running back, traditional running back. ETN offers some passing upside, but he's got his ball security issues. And in fact, he started losing snap share to Bigsby over the last 2 years, and it's just gotten more and more. So that being said, if Jacksonville really believes that they're like one piece away and they trade off ETN, I wouldn't be surprised at all. In fact, if Jeanty does go to Jacksonville, I'm fairly certain he's day 1 starter, and in that offense with a healthy Trevor Etienne, with what is it, Cohen now calling the shots, I like that a lot. But there's moving pieces that have to go off the board in order for Jeanty to be taken there. I wouldn't be surprised to see him trade ETN, take Jeanty, and I would not be surprised in the least to see it. In fact, I think we're going to have a lot of action tonight on the trades.
Yeah, I think Jacksonville, to me, is where fantasy-wise this draft really starts, because we know we've got Cam Ward going to the Titans. We know we've got Travis Hunter going to the Browns. The Giants are likely to go Abdul Carter unless they trade back. The Patriots with Vrabel there, I just don't see him taking an offensive player, honestly. Yeah, Ted McMillan would be great, but I don't know. So really at 5 with Jacksonville is where, with a new offensive-minded head coach, he's going to go. I've seen Tyler Warren possibly there. You know, we have Brenton Strange from last year, but that's an old regime. What do you think about Tyler Warren possibly going to Jacksonville? Then we talked earlier today
to have
about
him
Warren.
paired with Brian Thomas Jr. That would be a fun pairing to see. Actually, the more I think about it, I really like that a lot. That's what I think. I like that a lot. Because I think it produces just an easier job for Trevor Lawrence. He's got his short, intermediate, and middle covered. And then he's got BTJ for his intermediate to D. I like that. That's a really good spot for him, to be honest.
Well, do you like Warren or Tet McMillan better to Jackson?
Warren.
Yeah.
Yep.
See, McMillan is so similar to BTJ. I just don't know. I mean, I'm sure they can make it work, right? You know, tons of teams have 2 awesome wide receivers. Why not?
Right.
But it's almost like what you've got in Pittsburgh with DK and George Pickens. Now, BTJ, his route running ability, he's not
Tyler
Justin
Warren
Jefferson,
and Strange. They could run 12 personnel with both tight ends on the field as passing threats as well. That would be an interesting take too. I like Tyler Warren's hands so much, so I'm going to back off some of the comments I made after watching the tape. His hands are so good. His releases are well documented, along with his ability to run solid routes. So, and his contested catch is fantastic. So Warren there, even with Strange, I think it's both can be fantasy relevant, because outside of BTJ, I mean, what really do you have? You know, so it's. I mean, yeah, there's some guys around, but
there's guys, Gabe Davis,
trash.
Right? They're all just bodies.
Yeah, and not that these guys are trash players; they're good football players.
No, Parker Washington. I mean, they all can fulfill a role. I get it.
These aren't guys you're going out happy about drafting, right? So, but I think if you have Strange, Warren there, both on the field, it's going to make Lawrence's life easier. It's also going to open up BTJ more, and I think it works. I think it works well.
Yeah, and if you bring Genty in instead of a receiver, is that really? I mean, is that helping Lawrence more or not? It's hard to say. I would almost, because the thing is, you take Genty with that pick, there's still a good group of tight ends in the second and third rounds, right? Mason Taylor, Harold Fannin, Elijah Arroyo, even Terrence Ferguson. Any of those guys could also go to Jacksonville and fulfill that role. Now, none of them are on the level of Tyler Warren in versatility. But if you're Jacksonville, which way do you lean? Like Genty in the first and then one of those guys at tight end, or Tyler Warren in the first and then, I don't know, Caleb Johnson in the third?
Right. So that's kind of what's more important to Cohen. What's more important for his offensive design for him to have, right? And so once you make that decision, the other one just falls into place, because, I mean, just take Fannin, for example. Very excited about what he can do. Extremely athletic. And you can get him a few rounds later, and you don't have to spend top 5 capital on him. But it just depends on what Cohen's going to want more. Does he want a tight end, or does he want a running back more? And heck, they could completely shift and not do any one of those. He'd go ahead and take himself another receiver.
Well, right. Yeah, and it depends. Like when it comes to their pick in the second round, I know they need cornerback. I know they need help all over the place on defense.
Yeah, their defense is
real.
An absolute need there.
They could pick any defensive player and it'd be a help. So I look at it from the perspective of Genty is like a borderline generational player, whereas Tyler Warren, I don't know that he's quite there. Like last year we had Brock Bowers, generational. Everybody had been saying it since he was a freshman at Georgia, right? Tyler Warren didn't do anything until last year at Penn State. Now, what he did last year was amazing. 100 catches, 1,200 yards, over 200 yards on the ground, a bunch of touchdowns. So, like, he really got used well with Penn State, and that's an exciting piece to have offensively. I just, me personally, I would lean Genty going there, and then it kind of opens you up to more options later on in the draft, I guess. Yes,
that's true. And I mean, look who the Bucks went out and drafted last year, and where he was drafted, right? In Bucky Irving. I'm pretty sure Cohen's gonna feel as if I'll find another one in a few rounds back, so he doesn't necessarily have to go Genty. Makes it easier if that's what you're looking for, right? But
right.
he could start addressing needs on the defensive side of the ball, and then on day 2 go grab himself a top flight running back. I mean, I think we're fairly certain there's going to be 2 to 3 of those top 5 we mentioned available on day 2, in which they're going to have a pretty early shot at getting them. So that's not outside the realm of possibility either, just like you said.
So
that would make more sense.
With these running backs here, I know that we have them ranked this way, right? But in an NFL boardroom, certain running backs run better in certain offenses, okay?
Correct.
Right? So there's certain running backs in our draft here that are going to be better fits for the Shanahan offenses, like the Niners and the Dolphins, that kind of offense. And then there's other running backs who are better fits for the zone blocking schemes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, or did I mix that up? Those would be the zone blocking schemes, and then you've got the trap offenses like what Liam Cohen runs, and that he ran with Tampa. So that's what I'm getting at. Like Bashul Tutin is a perfect fit for Miami and San Francisco, that kind of offense, right? Same with Dylan Sampson, right? Sampson got a lot of his numbers because of the spread offense that Tennessee runs, and that's one big knock on him, whether he can actually do it at the pro level instead of just being, in an offense that's basically set up to put up big fantasy numbers, but isn't really that's in college, not really translating to much smarts going into the NFL, put it that way. I mean, look at the Tennessee quarterbacks that have come out recently and the receivers, Jalen Hyatt, right? Jalen Wright last year. I mean, it's hard to knock him. He had Achane ahead of him, so I mean, he just didn't get hurt. I don't know. What are your thoughts there as far as, I guess, good fits for Tutin, whereas Scadaboo, what kind of offense do you think Scadaboo needs to get into to actually be productive for us?
Man, that's
where he's tough.
I think
it's a tough question. I know. Scadaboo, I don't know.
If any running back that ends up in Denver, they're going to be successful. Sean Payton's very good at putting the players in where they belong and working around that or with that, we'll say. So I think there's certain places in the NFL you can go and it doesn't matter. They're just going to be successful based on the current coaching staff that's in place. And so for someone like Scadaboo, it would be really cool. Now, I know they just drafted Benson last year, but Arizona would be a fun team for Scadaboo to land on. One, it's in the home state whatever, Arizona State, Arizona. But
right.
Either which way, I think with a quarterback like Kyler Murray, who's so ad-libbed, for a player like Scadaboo, I think he mixes really well with that type of a quarterback. Not necessarily offense, but quarterback. Let's see who else. Yeah, anybody who gets going to Baltimore, it's not going to be this year unless there's an injury. But man, Derrick Henry's probably not going to play forever. Looks like he can. He's probably not going to. So in Baltimore,
well, and like I said, they just value the position. They have no problem,
right,
taking another guy in the third round.
Mm-hmm. That's another one though. That some of these speed guys that are super dynamic in space. That's a compliment to Henry, and that's immediate path to play time as a change of pace guy. So I like that too. I like that for Baltimore and Arizona would be my picks for that type of a running back. I mean, just out the gates. I mean, I'd say Miami because A-Chain seems to be glassy, breaks kind of easily. He held up last year pretty well, but they like to utilize the space. Even though they drafted right last year, I don't think McDaniel's opposed to just taking another one. He likes his weapons. Who's your be damned? Give me more weapons, is what he said. I mean, come on.
So, I know you're down there in Houston. Of these five right here, let's say Houston doesn't go after one of the top five guys, but this group here, these five: Sampson, Tootin, Devin Neal, Scadaboo, and Martinez. Who would you love to see your Texans grab?
Man,
there. With your situation with Mixon, they could be the eventual overtaker.
Yeah. So if it's the Mixon successor, then I like Devin Neal. If it's a complementary piece to eventually become the successor, then I like Tootin and Scadaboo.
Yeah, Tootin reminds me he's maybe a better Dameon Pierce, right? Essentially.
Yeah, but see, Dameon Pierce isn't a zone back. He's a one-cut back, and Tootin, I think, plugs into his zone much better than Pierce. That's about the only thing. From a build standpoint, sure. From a physical build standpoint, I absolutely see that. I think Tootin's got a little bit more, how do I want to say, wiggle to him. He's not as rigid. But I mean, he's a higher ranked prospect. We'll put it that way. Pierce had that speed, but the way you're a Gator fan, the way he was used there in Florida was just he's a battering ram. He was a battering ram, and then if he breaks through, you're not going to catch him easily. Yeah,
right.
But that's assuming that first cut is there, and then he just pretty much a straight line from there. Maybe it angles a little bit, but he's running on a straight path. There's not a whole lot of cuts and jukes and all that kind of stuff. Stiff arms and lower the head and just mow them over. So, if we're talking about replacement, like we're going to move Mixon maybe mid-year, then I would say it was probably closer to Devin Neal. But if they're not in a hurry to trade Mixon or to replace him, I like Tootin and Scadaboo there. That would be fun.
Yeah. All right. So let's move down. We've gone through these guys on the board. Let me slide down to the next level. And again, after the top five, I basically had these five, and then the next 6 running backs here, all kind of clumped together in a manner of where R.J. Harvey, Ollie Gordon, Rocket Sanders, Jordan James, Rashard Smith, and DJ Giddens, all of these 6 guys with Jaden Higgins slid into the middle there. All 6 of these guys, any one of them could jump into that or ahead of any of the guys, the 5 guys ahead, just because, and draft capital will kind of show that, right?
Mm-hmm.
If DJ Giddens, I think he's one of the main guys I could see jumping into the 2nd or 3rd round. He goes to Dallas, right? Then all of a sudden, yeah, he's better than a Cam Scatterbo to Arizona in the 4th round, right? But who are your favorite guys out of these 6? Harvey, Gordon, Rocket Sanders, James, Brashard Smith, and Giddens. And tell me, pick 2 of them, 2 of your favorites out of here, and why.
Okay. Easy. Jordan James, Brashard Smith.
Okay.
And I like Jordan James because I really liked Bucky Irving last year. And when I watch James, it reminds me of Bucky Irving. Remember how we talked about the scenarios for Jacksonville and where they're taking pieces? Jordan James looking like Bucky, knowing what Cohen did, that could be someone they grab in a later round. And I love that. I love that a lot. I'm going to stick to my guns this year on the Oregon running back. I like Jordan James. He reminds me of Bucky Irving. And I think
for years, Oregon was a spot where people were like, oh, yeah, it's artificial numbers.
Yeah, it's not anymore. It's not Chip Kelly there. I like him. And then Brashard Smith, if you remember last year, was high on Tyrone Tracy, converted receiver in the running back. Now, look, there are things he's going to have to work on, just like Tyrone Tracy did. That being said, in the 1 year that he played running back for SMU, I mean, he was pretty dynamic, especially in the 2nd level. I think he's a natural runner once he's in that 2nd level, and it's a thing of beauty. It really is. So there's buts that come with him, but we've seen this converted receiver thing kind of work last year, and could see it again this year, with a team that's like Dallas. Dallas is kind of weak at running back, but we know that they like to run the ball. Brashard Smith gives Dak Prescott another target in the passing game, and he's a great change of pace running back who could eventually take the job. I think he's that athletic. His raw athleticism score is awesome. So yeah, I love those 2. I actually have them ranked where you have Harvey and Gordon. I mean, it's a personal preference, but
right.
Yeah, those 2 are as soon as you started coming down to tier 5, I started oohing and ahhing because those are 2 of my
These are your guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, the end of tier 4 and into tier 5 here, they're all very close. I just had to I felt I had to break them up somehow. And this is kind of how they fell. But again, draft capital could easily flip them around. I really like Brashard Smith, too. He reminds me a little of the old Cowboys running back Felix Jones. And I think, you brought up Dallas, and that's where I started thinking of that. Felix Jones, of course, was the complimentary back to Darren McFadden back in college at Arkansas, and then they both went in the 1st round of the NFL draft. And Felix Jones was a solid producer fantasy wise. He wasn't overly exciting, but not terrible. But yeah, Brashard Smith does provide that 3-down opportunity, and with that receiving background, it's really exciting for us fantasy wise. I mean, he's one of the best receiving running backs we've got in this class. I'd say he's top 5 at least receiving wise.
Dude, this in fantasy football, that pass catching upside and PPR value that comes with a running back, massive in our evaluation of where we take them and how and what we're willing to do to get them. They're not going to be cheaper than they are now when they're pushed this far down. If you can get a value on a player like that with a high PPR upside, let's do it. I mean, just go back and look. I mean,
Tyrone Tracy last year. That's exactly why we were drafting him.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of guys like Danny Woodhead.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, dude, he's not a between the tackle guy, but that dude did nothing but put up fantasy numbers when you absolutely needed it. I can't tell you how many times he was the last player I had to face, and I ended up losing the matchup.
Who was the dude? Darren Sproles.
Darren Sproles, another one. Perfect. The little engines that could, man.
Yeah, exactly. And this year we've got a couple of them as well. I mean, if you scroll down here, you got Woody Marks down there. Let me scroll down my list here a little, because these other guys down here are no jokes either. Jaden Blue, Marcus Yarns, Trevor Etienne, Woody Marks. Not so much Khalil Mullings, but his teammate Donovan Edwards. Definitely, all those guys can catch the ball, right?
Yep.
And they're all NFL ready. Like these are not dudes. Maybe Marcus Yarns, okay, out of tiny Delaware. He's also tiny as a human, as Shane from last week said when I picked him. He's like, yeah, you could have at the Senior Bowl, you could have kicked him into the stands, but he would have outrun you. But I like those. Like Marcus Yarns is a James Robinson type dart throw. You know what I mean? Out of tiny Delaware. But you've got Woody Marks, Etienne. Khalil Mullings is a bigger back, and I really only have him in here because I just, for whatever reason, I think that Harbaugh is going to take him. but
hey,
he could fill in.
You've got a feeling, right?
Yeah, but I mean, he could go to Pittsburgh in the 5th round and be their first and second down grinder, right? I mean, Pittsburgh's got to draft a running back. They're not going to leave it. They're not leaving the draft with just Jaylen Warren as their only running back, right? I mean,
You know who makes sense for Pittsburgh? You got to go up a little bit, but Damian Martinez makes sense for Pittsburgh.
Oh, I said that last Thursday. I could see him in. I can already see him in a Steelers jersey, like he just is a Steeler, and yeah, that would be awesome.
Like a Steeler. Yeah,
that would be an awesome fit for Damian Martinez. Like that's a spot I would be buying. I would be moving him up for sure from the 24th rank here. Because again, he's going, it's the fit, right? You're going to an Arthur Smith offense. Like, let's just look at his history.
Pound that pill.
Right. Exactly. And so, yeah, I would love him there. Devin Neal would be good there. Out of this group, Rocket Sanders would be good there. Jordan James, perfect fits for that Steelers opening. And we know it's there. It's going to happen. And I mean, I've seen mocks of them taking Amarian Hampton in the first round. And and Quinshad Judkins, I've seen mock to them in the first. I don't buy it. They don't have a second round pick. I don't see the Steelers as a franchise doing that. They're pretty smart with their draft capital. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think what they're going to take in the first round is a smart choice, but it's one of the landing spots I think it could actually work in Shedeur Sanders.
Nah, they're going Dart. If Dart's there,
Dart's not falling to 21. Dart's not falling to 21. I don't think Jackson Dart gets out of the 15th pick. I don't think he gets by the 15th pick. I just don't. My personal opinion, I think there's teams that have done their homework, and I'm not going to say it. We'll see it, but I'll say it post-draft what I think about Jackson Dart. Actually, I'll save it till after all of our rookie drafts what I think of Jackson Dart. Everybody's got butts. Keep that in mind. But everybody's
Can't wait
butts.
that long, Matt. Come on. That's so fun.
All right,
Let's
fine.
say it before the draft.
You twisted my arm. Yeah, I think Jackson Dart's the QB1 in this draft. No.
There you
question.
go. That's what we want to hear. Now,
I do.
why
I
is he
think-
better than Cam Ward?
Okay, so one, his presence and understanding. Lane Kiffin was his coach. That guy's been in the pros. He's been to multiple programs. Say what you want about him. He's still coaching because he does something right. Don't know what that is yet. But
no, I hear you with Lane. Yeah.
He keeps the offense moving. Has he made some bad decisions in the pocket? Yeah, every quarterback does. He had that one bad game against Florida, and I think he's still getting knocked by the dynasty community on that one. If you watch him play, he's always looking forward down the field to keep things moving forward. Yeah, he tucks it and runs when he needs to, and he may lower his eyes for a second to avoid some sort of contact, but then the eyes are right back up. None of the other quarterbacks really. Well, Shedeur didn't really have a ton of chance. He can ad-lib some stuff because of that.
He had a bad O-line. I'll give Shedeur that. He did have a bad O-line.
But that being said, Jackson Dart not only looks the part on tape and the combine. If you watch the drills, man, there's a lot to be excited about. We didn't get to see Cam and Shedeur, but I've watched the tape. He's the QB1 because he does have the rushing upside. He can move the chains with his feet. You know, he's willing to go out of bounds. He's willing to lower his shoulder. I think he's the QB1, and there's no doubts in my mind on that one.
Yeah, for me, from my perspective, Jackson Dart is the kind of guy that, all right, I, of course, had to kick off my draft day by watching Draft Day last night. And
great one.
Jackson Dart is the anti-Bo Callahan, right?
Yeah.
His teammates are going to pick him up off the ground. His teammates are going to show up for his 21st birthday party. Shedeur Sanders is the one where, you know, he's going to be standing up there telling everybody what to do at his birthday party. Look at me. This is my birthday party. Blah, blah, blah. That is not, that's a piss poor attitude to me. That is not something I want leading my franchise. He thinks he's going to walk in the door and be the king of the franchise. What the hell do the Steelers need somebody like that for? The Pittsburgh Steelers? They don't need a franchise-changing player. They're the Pittsburgh freaking Steelers, right? So I can understand if he's going to somewhere like Jacksonville or Carolina or whatever, but they already have their quarterbacks. So this is my point. Like, Jackson Dart is somebody who he would be a great fit in Pittsburgh to me, but I agree he might not make it that far now because I think the NFL scouts and teams are wising up and realizing that Dart is the actual better fit and is going to be he works harder. That's really what it boils down to. The guy he's going to be watching film more. He works harder. He's going to be a better leader. Those are the qualities that I'm looking for in a quarterback. I mean, it's hard enough already to scout quarterbacks, right? It's the hardest position.
Progression as well. So you got to like that too. He goes through his progressions.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if his first look's open, he fires it, but he doesn't have to have that one first look throw. He can go to 2 and 3. So that's a huge bonus too that people have overlooked with him. But everyone seems sold that Cam Ward's going 1. I firmly believe Tennessee needs to trade out of that spot.
It'd be better for their team-wise. Yeah. Yes, they have more holes than just the quarterback spot.
Yeah, I think there's just so much more to see on Jackson Dart, and if I'm picking, I think there's more evidence there to take Dart than there is on the other two guys. And I mean, look, I know it's a running back show, but my second favorite quarterback in the draft is Dillon Gabriel. He's analytically the best, and get over the fact that he's short. We've had short quarterbacks win Super Bowls and do great things in the NFL. That's lazy scouting, dude. That's lazy ass scouting. Watch him play. he is a great quarterback. Will he ever get his shot? I don't know. I'd love for him to end up in Miami. He's a lefty, backing up a lefty. The spin's the same for the receivers. And Tua is not going to last much longer. I mean, dude battling the decision to retire every offseason. So,
yeah. Well, let's get into we can get back into the quarterbacks, but Dylan Gabriel had been at UCF. That was one of his stops early on, actually, his first stop. And we have RJ Harvey coming from there as well. So we got a couple of older players there. Do you mind the age of RJ Harvey, okay? Or Dylan Gabriel you brought up. I know a quarterback traditionally doesn't even matter the age, but RJ Harvey is older.
Right.
Why don't you talk to that a little?
Okay, so when it comes to running back and the capital that's going to probably be spent on him from the actual franchise and what we would have to spend to get him, why not? Why not? I mean, if we go into the assumption running backs are good for their rookie contract, let's just say give them the full 4 with a 5th-year option just because, right? Regardless of where they're drafted for hypothetical purposes. Who cares? 4 years, you're going to get everything you need out of that pick. So who cares if he's a little bit older? I mean, yeah, there's more tread on the tires, but as running backs go, they're so devalued to begin with. Who cares?
Yeah, I think if there's anything to learn from
fresh into the NFL, and he's got more experience. I don't know. I don't see the age as a big deal on the running backs so much when you're drafting them. Now, after those first few years go by, that changes the evaluation. But that's not what we're evaluating here. So I don't have a big issue with him being older than the most or the rest of the class. So that wouldn't scare me off. Because, I mean, running backs are replaced pretty quickly, either by the generational talent or by a committee.
Yeah, I mean, I've always tended to try my best in Dynasty to look at running backs from a year-to-year perspective. Quarterback and wide receiver, yeah, you can look at the contract, the 3-year deal, 4-year deal, 5-year deals, and be a little more as though those contracts are going to actually play themselves out. But running backs, I mean, look at Tyron Tracy. Tyron Tracy was one of the oldest running backs in last year's class. Are we fading him because of his age? No. We're fading him because he's probably going to get replaced, and he's going to be a third down back. He's going to be Dameon Pierce.
Yeah.
Right?
That's more fair.
You've got to get off of him now. Like, you've got 6 hours to get off of him. Right? So,
correct.
Like last week, I got a second rounder for Tyron Tracy somehow. I'd have been happy with 2/3 or a single third. But that's the point I'm trying to get at is, yeah, age shouldn't matter. Age is becoming super overrated. I mean, look at some of the wide receivers that have been coming out that are younger. I mean, that are older.
It's not that he's even that old. He's 24 years old for Harvey, right? He's 24. You mean to tell me you're not going to get 3 to 4 well, in theory, awesome production years out of him as compared to a 22-year-old or a 21-year-old? Yeah, he may not last in the league as long, but running backs don't last anyway. I just think that, like you said, there's a lot put into it, year-to-year basis. I look in a 3-year window. So he's 24 now, so when I reevaluate 27, he's still not that old. He's still closer to 25 than 30 at that point. So
yeah. And the fact that you're getting him very likely in the back end of the second, early third round, I mean...
I'm not trading for a 27, 28-year-old running back, right?
No.
Not doing that unless I'm trying to make a push to the Super Bowl.
Right.
And the trade deadline is approaching and I need a little help.
Right.
That's a little bit different scenario. So
I think that age thing comes more into factor if you're trying to split hairs, like when Najee Harris was being drafted and he was a year or two older than Javonte Williams, right? That was one of the arguments people were using to take Javonte Williams or
like the same
ETN was in the class too. It was those three.
Mhm.
Now Najee as a whole still on average went higher than the other two, but that was one of the things bringing Najee down.
Yeah.
Right. Now, obviously, we look back on it and did it matter? Should we have looked at age? 4 years? No. Right? It was a stupid argument. It was an absolutely stupid argument.
But you know what? As a dynasty owner and manager, you can use that to your advantage. Let him slide. Let no one believe that he's going to be worth the pick, and then you get a massive discount, right? Heck, maybe you even get him as a free agent after your rookie draft. You know, I mean, it's quite possible because some people still draft on need and not value. So,
oh yeah, RJ Harvey could end up going to Carolina in the 5th or 6th round, right? Mm-hmm. And go undrafted. So, yeah, there's some bad landing spots, quote unquote, here. But the reality is most of these running backs here are better than the guys that were getting the touches last year. Almost all of these guys, we talked about Brashard Smith, all of these 11 running backs in this range, plus the 5 backs ahead of them. So that's 16 running back. All of them are more talented than Tyron Tracy. Okay. All of them, not all of them. Well, maybe you could say all of them are more talented than pretty much anybody in Tennessee. Right? I mean, where do you rank Tony Pollard on the talent level? Right?
Now, but I will say this. I do like Tajee Spears. I think he's a good running back.
That's fair. That's fine. But he couldn't beat out Tony Pollard last year for more touches. Okay?
Now, hold on a second, buddy.
Spears had quality touches, and I don't want to get into it.
A new coach came in. A new administration came into that building, traded for Tony Pollard, or excuse me, didn't trade for, signed Tony Pollard. That was their guy. He was given every single chance to be the starter. And look what happened towards the end of the season. Oh, well, we're done. So let's just go ahead and put in Tajee Spears. All of a sudden, they had offense. Come on, man. It wasn't a matter of them being beat out. I think it was a matter of they wanted him, and it didn't freaking work out.
I don't know. I think Tony Pollard's going into this season as the number 1.
Yeah, okay.
I think it doesn't matter.
Look, I'll tell you this about Tennessee.
I don't think it matters. They're both in the same bucket, and they're both going to run for 700, 800 yards and get you 5 or 6 touchdowns.
That's a testament to Tennessee Titans. They're gonna use the number 1 pick to draft Cam Ward and not address all these other issues that they have, and they're going to start Tony Pollard. Loser mentality. Something doesn't work, you move on from it. Tony Pollard is what he is.
I think that from one perspective, it's good that they don't need to draft or feel the need to draft a running back, because that should be the last thing on their minds. What they should do is probably grab a wide receiver right away for their new quarterback, though, whether it's in the 2nd or 3rd round, 2nd preferably. Because there's going to be one of these top-end wide receivers that slides, right? Whether it's Luther Burden or Golden. I don't love Golden, but he fulfills a role for the offense probably pretty well. And then Jalen Noel. I don't love Iamaner, but Jaden Higgins. Any of those dudes in the 2nd round I don't love necessarily fantasy-wise. I like Burden, but those other dudes.
Higgins and Cam Ward would be a fun pairing.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so then you'd have Calvin Ridley, a new flashy rookie, And you just signed Tyler Lockett last night, who's I mean, he's going to walk out on the field. I don't know how many targets he's going to be able to manufacture for himself this year, but he's going to be there in training camp at least.
Yeah, they went and got Tyler Boyd last year. He's done. Let's go get Tyler Lockett.
Maybe they'll bring back DeAndre Hopkins. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
He's not, because he doesn't have a team right now, does he, Hopkins? Or did he go back to Baltimore? He went back to Baltimore.
Yeah, Baltimore.
Yes, that's right. So, anyway, the Titans do need to address the wide receiver position. I mean, they better, because otherwise, that's part of the reason I don't like Cam Ward, where he's valued at. I do not dislike Cam Ward, the player. Let me get that straight. I just think that he is much closer, or that Jackson Dart and Shedeur Sanders are much closer to Cam Ward, and so is Jalen Milroe, than people are giving it credit for. Like, Milroe, fantasy-wise especially, with his running ability, but any four of those guys could end up being this class's number one quarterback. And right now I'm seeing, Cam Ward pick consistently at the 102, 103, with people even arguing to take him over Genty and some. I've seen a podcast that did that, and I was like, come on, and I shut it off. Like, you can't. The guy doesn't have an elite ceiling. He's not going to be competing to overtake Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts or Jaden Daniels for a number one quarterback in Dynasty. He's in the middle there. He's in the midst with Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy. That's where he sits. And yeah, Cam Ward might have a little more security out of the gate because he's going to be the number one pick. So he's probably starting week one, whereas the other guys may have to sit a week or two. But once we get to October, they're all on the same level for me.
Yeah. I mean, Milroe could be the next Hurts.
Absolutely. See, that's the thing. He is the one guy that actually has that potential ceiling.
Well, here's one for you. I don't know if you'll like this comp or not. Jackson Dart, Josh Allen.
I prefer Justin Herbert just because I think Dart's running ability is more like Herbert's. It's there, but not as elite as Josh Allen's, but I could see it.
I'm going to encourage you to rewatch some of his tape.
I think here's another thing. I think Jackson Dart is more advanced than Josh Allen was as a passer as well.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
So that's where I see Justin Herbert more, I guess.
Yeah.
But I understand what you're saying with Josh Allen. Yeah.
Well, it also gets into the determination, the work ethic, the team play. The team comes first. His willingness to take off, but also to stay in the pocket. Now, Josh Allen's developed that over the last few years, but I just see a lot of similarities there from a character standpoint and also from a skill set. So, yeah, I mean, only time will tell, but we'll see. We'll see. So, the more you've been wearing on me, dude, with this Milroe talk, so I'm not completely opposed to hyping him a little bit because there are a lot of things to like about him.
Hey, I did my first set of these rankings, these tiers, way back in September when Milroe tore up the Badgers in Madison here. And I just watched that game and I was like, man. And I had watched him play the previous years, but I was like, man, this guy is exciting and he can run. And he's not as bad of a thrower as people say. Like, if you watched Alabama consistently, and obviously they're on TV all the time because they're in the SEC and blah, blah, blah. But he was... his wide receiver was Ryan Williams, was his main guy, much like Ohio State had a freshman Bama had this kid, Ryan Williams, and man, Milroe is willing to take shots deep. He plays like Jalen Hurts, really, and so that's why it's such an easy comp to see. I mean, the dude had 20 rushing touchdowns last year. And we're playing a game called fantasy football. We're not we don't get any points if the team wins or lose points if they lose, right?
Yeah. No, look, I played that with Jay Cutler. I played that with Jay Cutler years ago, man. Rode him to the Super Bowl. Terrible as a Bears fan, you hated him. But as a fantasy owner, it's like, hey, it's fourth quarter, time to throw 2 to 3 touchdown passes and get me back in this matchup.
Put it this way, it's very much like Justin Fields is what it is.
Ah, yeah. Oh, I'm talking about from point standpoint, but yeah.
Well, yeah, from a point standpoint, yes. I get what you're saying with Cutler, for sure. I understand. Yeah. But the rushing upside there is Justin Fields. And whether or not he ends up being winning games and being a good actual NFL quarterback, I don't know. But
well, that's where it comes into how we select or where we select him, right? Because people were taking Justin Fields in rookie drafts way earlier, and then you get burned in the long run, or so to speak. You got burned last year.
But that's where Milroe's going in the second round right now, much like Penix last year, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're willing to do it and wait a little bit and see, sure. But if you're needing to draft a quarterback to compete this year, you're probably not competing. But I don't think this year's quarterback class, you can say, oh, if I get this guy, I'm going to make the run. Last year, there were several dudes we could say that about. Now, whether or not you pick the right one or two is a whole nother story. But
yeah,
this year, it's just if you're selecting a quarterback, it should be more investment. And that's why my rookie drafts or our rookie drafts, I know we're going to see quarterbacks come off in that first round, and that's great. That's great. Because that means there's more talent available in later picks for me. Right?
So. Absolutely. I mean, it's a cost thing for me. Essentially, really, what it boils down, Jalen Milroe is what Fields was, what Anthony Richardson was in the draft a couple of years ago. But you're paying around later for him. And, I mean, Milroe's started way more games than Anthony Richardson had in college. The experience is there, too. So he's not going to be coming in having that excuse. I mean, Milroe is a guy who could literally walk into a team like the Steelers, say, and he'll be starting week 1 because he has that experience and is a leader. He could do that in camp. Will he? I don't know. I don't want to say, you said I've been wearing on you with this Milroe. I'm still not putting him ahead of Shedeur or Dart.
Oh, no, when I say where, you're chipping away at my bias on him.
Yeah, right. I mean, early before the Senior Bowl, he was a third-round pick for people. So he's moved up almost a whole round now in rookie drafts and in the real NFL draft. He's moved up so much that we all know now, they actually invited him to Green Bay for the draft. So, I mean, that would be just wild. I would love it if 4 quarterbacks go in this draft first round. It just makes the draft more exciting. And then when we get more offensive player hype. So,
hey, the more offensive weapons that get taken in the first round, the more exciting it usually is. Well, that and lots of trade action. That's always fun.
Yeah, I want to see. Give me 2 things you want to see tonight, because I want to see Jacksonville and somebody trade up, or somebody trades up ahead of Jacksonville, like Denver or the Bears, to go grab Genty. That's what I want to see, because those are 2 super exciting places for me. The Bears and the Broncos. The Broncos number 1, and then yeah, I want to see some action at the quarterback position. New Orleans moving around, doing something stupid. Yeah, I love it. I mean,
There's Mickey Loomis, man.
it doesn't get any
Always
better.
love
Every
decisions.
draft year, it's the same thing. New Orleans doing something dumb.
God, ever since Ditka did the Ricky Williams trade, New Orleans hasn't seemed to really get it together. Well, that's not true. They made some
They
good,
kind of hit on
good picks along the way.
You kind of hit on that Drew Brees free agent move.
Yeah, that was it was a great free agent move.
Yeah,
but,
that was a
like,
pretty good. That was a pretty good
we
hit
only
for free
did it.
agency.
We only did it because we got a discount on him for the shoulder injury. That's it.
Now here's a question for you as a Saints fan. What was the Reggie Bush pick worth it?
It could have been.
I think so. What he did in New Orleans and the timing, yeah, he may not have become a Hall of Famer, but that city and what it was going on there, he just hyped that city up so much more.
He
in
did,
that time,
and he actually held a
and-
good role. In
Yes, the
Peyton's
role he
offense,
played.
but injuries, that's the only thing.
Right.
Look, man. Hold on a second. I got a spot. Look at this. Hold on. Look at this. It's funny you bring this dude up, right? Look at that, bruh.
Oh, damn, that is awesome.
Saints soaring. Reggie Bush going over
I
the
mean, as a
pylon,
Bucks
man.
fan, it makes me want to throw up a little in my
Well,
inside, but
That is
I
Miami that he was playing
can't
against.
deny that Reggie Bush was one of the absolute most exciting players. I mean, after Bo Jackson, and I was too young really to remember any of his college, but when Bo was in the NFL early on, I mean, Reggie Bush was that kind of excitement in college. And his first couple of
brought
years
with
in the
him
NFL.
a level of energy. Yeah, he sure did. He absolutely did. But yeah, you had to bring up some old stuff. I just happened to be redoing this whole area in here, and it just is out and about.
Hey man, that's what we're here for. The draft is something special every year, and we've gone through the running backs pretty well now. Now it's time to just try and shoot our shots, right? Make our bold predictions that we know won't happen, but maybe they will.
Stand by my convictions.
Absolutely.
Hey, look, man, I'll tell you this. I dug in on Jaden Daniels last year, calling him the quarterback one.
And you were a monster. That was awesome.
I'm going to dig in again and double down on the call, on a quarterback call and say Jackson Dart will be the quarterback one of this class.
So you're going Jackson Dart, Rookie of the Year?
I don't claim Rookie of the Years, but I will say he will be the best quarterback this year out of the draft.
Fair enough. It usually ends up being the quarterback. That's why I was. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, it may be a little harder for him to get it if he doesn't start from the get-go. But yeah, by the end of the
top
year,
15 picks, he's gonna start.
You think if he's top 15, he'll start right away? Because if he goes to the Saints, I can see it.
Yep.
He'll start out of the gate.
Derek Carr's. I don't even know what's going on with my shoulder. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've got. Okay, so we got the Titans taking Ward. After that, we've got the Giants, or the Browns and the Giants that need a quarterback. That's
The
two.
Giants
The
love
Saints. Yeah, the Giants want
love
Dart. I
Dart.
know. So we got
But then they-
three teams there: the Browns, Giants, Saints, then the Steelers. That's four. Anybody else you can think of? Because this is
Not
how
the
the
first
draft.
round.
This is going to be the main narrative of how this first round goes. What do those four teams do in relation to the quarterback position?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That kind of drives the draft.
Mm-hmm.
There's some teams that are just sitting in the first round and they're like, yeah, we'll be fine with Mason Graham. We'll be fine with Shamir Stewart or whatever his first name is from Alabama. You know, any of these pass rushers, there's a ton of them, and there's a ton of D tackles too, and they're fine with any of them really. But when it comes to the offense, and especially quarterback, obviously, that's the most important position in football.
Yeah.
That's what's going to drive this whole narrative tonight.
What if the Giants go and do something really gianty and take Dart at 3?
They're desperate enough.
I mean, but it's just funny because they sign Jameis, and by the way, that's exciting for Malik Neighbor owners.
Absolutely.
But then they go and get Russell Wilson, and then if they spend their 3rd overall pick on a quarterback, man, I don't even know what to expect at that point.
Yeah, and then Dillon Gabriel, who they grab in the 5th round, ends up being their starter.
Oh, God. Don't send him there. It's murky. Getting murky.
I could go real ugly, and let me think. I can picture him from the Draft Buzz rankings. I can't think. It was some quarterback I didn't even rank. Riley Leonard. There you go. Riley Leonard goes to the Giants as an undrafted free agent and ends up starting 13 games for them. And leads them to the playoffs.
That's bad news if he plays 13 games for them, because I'm a Malik Neighbors owner in a few leagues. And if he's the one throwing the football, that means Jameis isn't playing, and that's bad.
Yeah, no, that's too wild. But I could see it happening where one of Jameis or Wilson actually ends up, not with the team, like they end up releasing him or something.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, because to have the 2 veterans there, it just kind of seems a little odd. Neither of those guys is really a 3rd string quarterback, right? So I think you have kind of a camp battle going on with those 2 to see which veteran they keep. I'd like it for them because they obviously needed to address the position. And so they did with 2 polar opposite types of quarterbacks. But we're obviously all hoping for Jameis to get that spot somehow, some way, at any point in this year where he's slinging it to Malik Neighbors and whoever else they grab.
Really excited for Tracy too.
Tracy,
anybody that's got hands should be excited if Jameis is throwing the ball.
Right. Wan'Dale Robinson probably not so much, but whoever else they grab, like if they grab Jaden Higgins in the 2nd or 3rd round, that would be awesome for him. So the Giants that's where the draft is really going to start tonight. We've already gotten Ward at 1 and Travis Hunter at 2 probably, but yeah, when it gets to the Giants, that's where what they do, whether they go offense or defense or trade out of it. And then I see New England going defense just with Vrabel there, but then, and they could take a tackle. Don't get me wrong. They could take a tackle for Drake May. I don't think they're going wide receiver, but then Jacksonville also. The Giants and Jacksonville are the 2 most interesting right out of the gate here that we'll see in the first hour of tonight. And hope we see some trades. That's
my big one. I want to see 3 trades tonight. 3.
Yeah. At least 3.
Yeah.
If not more.
If I get 3 trades, I've got my fill. So
your Saints at 9 would be well advised to trade back because you absolutely need some draft capital, but it's just not your MO.
They like to trade up and waste capital to get guys that don't always hit. So.
Yes. All right. So, yeah, those are the first 10 picks. Into the middle of the first round, if we go there, not so much has been talked about the middle of the first round, but we've seen in recent years that's where we've had some wide receiver runs, right? We think
Yeah.
back to the what was it? When Jamison Williams went at like pick 12 or something like that. The Lions moved up to grab him. That was interesting. So we'll see. I could see the wide receiver run happening in there. Seattle has been looked at as a possibility for a deep threat. To have aside from Kupp and JSN roaming over the middle, whether it's Matthew Golden or Jaden Higgins, and any of those deep threats ends up there in Seattle, and that's unfortunate for their fantasy outlook, I'll say.
Well, we'll see. I would love to see a good deep threat land in Seattle. I really would.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think who else is picking in the middle there. Cincinnati is in the middle there. We don't want a wide receiver going there.
Now, the right tight end, I mean, I know they've got several on there, and they drafted a couple last year, but they continue to like to give Joe Burrow weapons. They really do. That would be a fun tight end spot, but no receivers. I mean, they could draft a running back, not the first, but they could trade back, get more picks, and do that.
I'm just bringing up my.
I think Cincy's going to draft a defensive player because their defense was so piss poor last year.
Just bringing up my draft tracker here. We've got starting at 11. It's the Niners, then Cowboys, Dolphins. The Colts obviously have been mock tight end all over the place, and that's not something we want to see. Yeah, if you got to run, Matt, it's all good. Appreciate your time here. I know you will be back later tonight. I'm gonna finish this out till about 2:00 here, but yeah, thanks for coming into the birdhouse this afternoon. There it is, a nice blue birdhouse. Woo! All right, I love it.
Birdhouse hanging out.
Beautiful. Yes. So we'll get into some bold predictions right before the actual draft starts. So you got some time to think about it. You got a couple hours here. Yeah. But we'll be back here at 6:45 with myself and Matt English. And it should be exciting. I'll stay on here for another half hour, but we're going to let Matt go. I know he's got some important responsibilities, adult type things to cover. All right, Matt, we'll let you go. And looking forward to it in a few hours here.
Yep, try to keep the cool. We're all excited.
Yes, it's so hard. We've been waiting for 2 months here for this day.
Oh, yeah.
3 months, really. I mean, since the end of the fantasy season, we started jacking up these mock traffic.
I need to draft.
Yeah, I did 14 mock draft Mondays. I counted it, and whether it was with actual NFL mock drafts for context, I did about half of them with context and half of them without, just to kind of stay on an even keel with draft capital and talent and try and balance it out, because you have to take both of them into consideration. You can't just take one and go too high on draft capital and too low on talent, back and forth. We've had examples either way that pan out. It's a difficult thing to balance, but that's what makes it fun, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you.
There's going to be
exciting time of dynasty league right now for me.
Yeah,
this is the fun part.
Absolutely, this is what we love. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a Nick Chubb in this draft. Nick Chubb, we remember, right? They had Carlos Hyde there, and they had some other running back too. And Nick Chubb came in. They took him in the second round, and everybody was like, "Oh, great, he's third on the depth chart." Jeez. right? And I guarantee you there's some running back in the second, third, fourth round. And then it also goes the other way, right? Zach Charbonnet a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Zach Charbonnet drafted in the second round, just like Kenneth Walker the year before. And Zach Charbonnet has been, what can we say? Nothing but a high end. High end, I'll give you that, but he's been nothing more than a handcuff, really.
Yeah, that's it.
And I don't put it past Seattle drafting another running back this year. Right?
Let's hope not.
When Caleb Johnson goes to them in the third round, then we really have some fun,
Stop it.
Hey, I'm just saying.
On that note, I'm going to leave you with your crazy thoughts. I will see you later.
That's what I've got here. Nothing but craziness. I got to get it all out now because tonight it's just the actual facts, the actual reality happens, and it sets in. But
that's it, man.
All right, dude, Matt.
I will see you later this evening.
Thanks again, as always. And yes, we'll see you in about 5 hours from now.
That's right. Thank you, and always a pleasure.
All right. Okay, so Matt is still there. All right, so we're back here, and as I just mentioned, some of the craziness that can happen, especially at the running back position, we're definitely going to see some of it. Maybe not so much tonight, but definitely Friday night when we get into the second and third rounds. There's so much talent there within the top 5 running backs, and maybe we only have Ashton Jeanty getting picked tonight. Possibly Marion Hampton. Marion Hampton, I mean, he's been kind of, under the radar. Obviously, the top guys get a lot of the spotlight, and Marion Hampton was was he 13th best RAS score of all time at the combine for running backs? That's out of almost 2,000 running backs since 1987. So Marion Hampton is definitely somebody who he could outscore Ashton Jeanty rookie season, and there's plenty of good spots for him. We mentioned already Denver, the Steelers right after them, even the Chargers could go with the Marion Hampton, and those are just golden opportunities for him. Now, think back to just a couple of years ago when we had Bijan as the clear-cut generational running back as the RB1. We didn't know where he was going to land, and of course Atlanta ended up grabbing him at the 7th or 8th pick. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, who was looked at as more of a early second round pick, mind you, but definitely the best running back of the next set of running backs. He went all the way up at number 12, and that was a shock to just about everybody, where the Detroit Lions, who had just gotten rid of DeAndre Swift and signed David Montgomery, went ahead and drafted a running back at number 12. It was just something that we didn't see coming. That could be the case tonight where, like, the Cleveland Browns, right? The Browns are a team that's dangerous in this draft. 6 picks in the first 3 or 4 rounds, 11 or 12 picks overall in this draft. They could make some things happen. We know they're taking Hunter at number 2, or at least we think so. We've seen a lot of mocks here having them go ahead and move back into the first round and grabbing his college teammate, Shedeur Sanders, so that you'd have the Hunter and Sanders tandem once again there in Cleveland. So the Browns are one dangerous team with all that draft capital that we could see making some moves tonight. Another team there in the middle that is interesting with all the stuff they've done already is the Seahawks. Seahawks at pick 18. Do they decide to go wide receiver there? Matthew Golden, maybe somebody else, deep threat. I don't think that Jaden Higgins would go that high, but you never know. Emeka Egbuka, again, it's hard to say with having gone out and signed Cooper Kupp and brought him into the building what the Seahawks are thinking there at wide receiver. They could wait just till day 2 to go out and grab that guy. But yeah, the middle picks 11 through 19 are going to be interesting offensive-wise if some guys go in that range. Because none of those teams, other than the Colts for a tight end, and everybody wanting Dallas to take a running back, obviously, but I don't think that will happen. But you never know. And so that's where we get some excitement. And then finally, in the picks in the 20s is where we really have some juice for wide receivers and potentially a second or third or even fourth running back going in the first round. And you, of course, got the Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders in the mix with the Rams being in the game there at pick 26. They look for a possible replacement in the future for Matthew Stafford. That's a possibility there, as well as is the teams without a decent quarterback in the Browns and Giants being able to try and move themselves back up into the first round to grab a quarterback. So those are some of the things that I'm looking at as far as excitement goes. You've got many options. I know Jamison Williams has been thrown out there as being on the block now for the Lions because of his contract situation, where he doesn't seem to be one of the guys that the Lions will sign to another extended deal, so they don't want to let his contract run out and then they just lose him without getting anything in return. And then after the Lions, you've got the Commanders, Bills, the Chiefs with question marks at wide receiver with Rashee Rice and his situation. The Eagles, not so much. I think they're going to just grab the best value, as Howie Roseman always does. But, the Bills and Commanders are definitely some nice, very sexy landing spots there for wide receivers late in this first round. Packers, of course, picking at 23. We have not seen them take a first-round wide receiver since Javon Walker way back in 2003. Could this be the year that they grab somebody like an Emeka Egbuka or a different wide receiver? Ahead of them is the Chargers and Steelers, and there's been all sorts of rumors as to what they end up doing in their first round. But yes, we've got lots of fun coming back your way tonight in about 5 hours from now. But the Birdman in the meantime is going to get some things taken care of, and we'll be back tonight for you for plenty of insight and fantasy analysis, dynasty analysis, and lots of predictions. And hopefully we're right. Maybe we're wrong. Who knows? There's just too much uncertainty going into this tonight, and it should be lots of fun. So thank you for joining today with the running back rankings and some of our thoughts on all of the rumors heading into tonight. And hopefully you'll be right back. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Click on that little bell to notify you when we're back up tonight. And otherwise, I just want to make you remember, never stop working.